to this week's episode of the Filmmakers Podcast. This, as you very well know, is a podcast where we talk
filmmaking.
From indie film to studio films to high-end TV, documentaries and...
Oscar-nominated shorts.
and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and...
how to try not to royally F them up.
In our very, very humble opinion. Welcome to the show. I am Giles Alderson.
I am Dom Lenoir.
And we are both your humble hosts for today's episode, where we're diving into the world...
of espionage.
And action, with a director who's proven his mastery of suspenseful storytelling across both television and film. So if you notice in our intro, we did say, and film and everything in between. Whatever's in between, that's what we want to know. That's what we want to know. So we, today on the show, have the incredibly talented director James Hawes, as well as the amazing actress Catriona Balfe, talking all about their new film, Amateur. Dom sat down with both of them to discuss.
One amateur.
From one amateur
to a professional.
To me. Two professionals. Dom did sit down with both of them very recently to have a chat. Now, James Hawes has been on the podcast before. Dom again interviewed him, talking all about One Life and Slow Horses as well, which is the director of. Yeah. What did you talk about this time? Let's start with James. Should we start with James or should we start with Catriona?
Yeah, let's start with James.
Let's start with James, the director of Amateur. What did you talk about with the amazing James Hawes?
Well, we talked about his very eclectic set of works because he's the opposite of getting pigeonholed. He's dived across like so many genres. He's jumped from film to TV. He's set very unique tones and narratives and style and world building. So we talked about that. We talked about doing an espionage story that felt completely different to Slow Horses, finding that international balance, and also working on the sort of American iconography and also what that involves in the different spy elements across the world.
Oh, amazing. So people know, if you hadn't listened to the episode before with James Hawes, here's some of his credits. Like we've mentioned already, the massive hit Slow Horses, the mind-bending Black Mirror. He did the Hated in the Nation and Smithereens episodes. He also directed the Alienist TV show and Snowpiercer, as well as Penny Dreadful and Doctor Who and The Mill, showcasing his versatility across genres. He also directed TV movies such as The 39 Steps and Enid, which earned him a BAFTA nomination, and, as we've said, the feature film One Life, which starred Anthony Hopkins and is on Sky Movies now. The Amateur is in cinemas. It stars Rami Malek, Rachel Brosnahan, Lawrence Fishburne, and Joseph Milson, who is going to be coming on the podcast very shortly because he has also directed and written his debut feature film, Signs of Life. Great guy. Can't wait to have him on the podcast, as well as Catriona Balfe, who is our second guest. Great. James is ace. We liked James last time. He remembered you, which is always nice. And what we're going to do, as always, we'll come back halfway after the James Hawes and then we'll introduce Catriona. And after Catriona, we will do a film topic of the week, which this week, Dom, is...
setting tone and genre and pigeonholing, which is not the practice of finding pigeons. It is, in fact, avoiding being stuck in one genre or trope.
Or in one pigeonhole, literally.
Exactly.
Which is great. So look forward to that. And we'll be doing film term of the week, of course, at the end of the show. Right, for now, though, sit back, relax, and enjoy Dom's chat with James Hawes.
So welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast. Lovely to have you back again. Last time we spoke One Life and Slow Horses.
Yeah.
So you've just finished in LA shooting a show, and obviously you've got the Amateur, which is fantastic. How are you sort of doing with the reception of this? I mean,
it's early days, but last night was thrilling. Look, it's somebody who grew up wanting to direct movies suddenly finds themselves with a premiere in Leicester Square and the lineup that we had last night, and standing with these extraordinary people. Rami and Lawrence and Katrina. It's,
I feel like those are like the sort of linchpins of the dream of filmmaking is like, there's the Leicester Square premieres, there's like the Cannes, they're the kind of things where it's like, check yourself sort of moments.
They're pinch yourself moments, but it is about the cast as well. And and the Amateur, there is no doubt. And if we want to talk in the broad, we wrapped the main shoot of the Amateur offshore from Istanbul on a trawler, filming one of those sequences you've seen. In fact, at the moment that he's arriving into Russia.
Yes.
And we wrapped around midday, and I was in a rush, and I had to get to Istanbul airport and fly to Prague for the Czech premiere of One Life, which was presented by the Czech president that night. That was a pinch yourself day.
Yeah.
I particularly remember the time in the lounge in Istanbul airport, and for some reason they had a problem with their catering. So all they were serving was baklava and champagne. It's just a perfect day.
High on sugar and
yeah. I had a great time.
It's the globe-trotting thing that's so exciting, I suppose, as well. I mean, especially for this film. I mean, what was it like shooting? I mean, you mentioned a little bit about the sort of jumping on planes, but what was it like, getting your head around, just being uprooted and thrown into different countries for so many different? I mean, it's a big thing to take on, isn't it?
It is. It's part of the challenge, because obviously you take your core crew with you, but you then pick up crew in each country as you go. And in fact, in each city, you're picking up new local crew. You don't want to be traveling with the entire train. It's about having the good plans. It's about knowing exactly where you're going to hit the ground, what your intent is in any given place, having good people locally to make sure you've got all the permissions and the access that you're going to need.
Yeah, fixers very important.
Fixers are hugely important, and everything works differently, not just country to country, but city to city. And we were very well served and looked after. In fact, Paris and Istanbul showed themselves to be very film-friendly places.
Yeah, I mean, Istanbul's like stunning.
Yeah, and I met with a Turkish podcaster yesterday who thanked us for not having shot Istanbul in golden light, because they're so used to suddenly, the helicopter shot over the Bosphorus and a golden sunset and
the market, obviously. Yeah.
And the market, which obviously is a great location, and Bond did it gloriously, but we wanted something more earthed and backstreet.
So in terms of piecing together your crew, was it sort of cinematographer that you carted around, which? And then I guess a lot of the other crew members you're sort of picking up in local hires.
You keep the heads of department with you. So cinematographer and designer and makeup and costume are consistent throughout sound. And then you pick up their juniors as you go. You keep the key operator for camera, but you pick up local assistant cameras and focus pullers and the like.
What were some of the differences in terms of the actual filming structure? Say France, Istanbul, you're shooting sort of very internationally. Were there any challenges in certain areas or different ways that the sort of industry runs that you had to sort of get your head around?
There are different ways the industry runs. I mean, obviously in mainland Europe, you've got the 38-hour week, which provides a challenge to film units. It means that you end up rotating your crew because crew won't do British hours. It's different to what I've just been doing in the States, for example, where you're doing 13-hour days. And here we try and stick to 10, maybe push to 11 or 12. And yes, there are different divides between who picks up which equipment and how many people are required to any one department. The principles are the same. And obviously you as the director, the first AD, the cinematographer, tend to be the drivers of the mechanics of the shoot.
Definitely. So let's talk about getting this off the ground, like how it sort of came to you. Because, I mean, no one can accuse you of doing the same kinds of projects. I mean, you've got such an eclectic range of things that you've directed and you've been part of. So how did this sort of land on your desk or get developed?
Well, I have worked at zigzagging through my TV career to avoid being pigeonholed, and I think that's worked. Obviously, the flip side of that argument is nobody knows what you do. What's your brand?
Everything.
Well, you'd like to say that. I tell stories, I get performances. But Slow Horses was obviously the breakthrough most recently. That happened to land in the world of espionage. So in the way that producers think, they go, who does spies? Who does good tension? And this script came towards me. And what I loved about it is that there is the action. There is the classic espionage world. You can feel its roots deep into the past of the espionage genre, the paranoid thrillers of the 70s and 80s. But it has that fantastically fresh premise. The geek.
Yeah.
The unexpected hero.
So just going into the sort of the American iconography as well, because British director, what's that like to go over there? And because, I mean, you're working with some amazing American actors, you've got the sort of the CIA sort of tropes and American work culture to sort of absorb. Like, what was it sort of getting stuck into those kind of things and making them feel authentic?
Well, just to remind you that it was all shot here. We didn't film in the States.
Okay, but American actors.
Yes. Well, you make, I think partly we're imbued with it, first of all. So there's a lot of it that is familiar to us.
Yeah, through watching
and absorbing that. And we have very good research teams, and the design department will be very clued into what it is we need to deliver. We've seen enough of the interior of Langley to know what that should look like. But Langley is an example. So building the CIA headquarters, the exterior was a car park at the old Heinz headquarters in Hayes.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of H's there. The reception is the Queen Elizabeth Hall on the South Bank. Mm-hmm. Here's the lobby. The canteen is St. Anthony's College, Oxford. Upstairs and the basement for Hella was all filmed at Aldermaston, which is the UK's atomic headquarters until the 90s, until we disbanded that. So that same architecture, and we found those different locations, all locations, to build together that world.
That feels very authentic, I suppose.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the cast. I mean, was this easy to attach? You know, Rami and Lawrence and Katrina.
Rami was there before I came on board.
Okay, well, that helps things
move
absolutely
along. Because then you create that gravitational pull at the heart of the project, and once you know, then you've got the studio backing, you've got Rami attached, you've got the project. We then went out to various people, and those people were our first choices, whether it was Rachel, Katrina, or Lawrence Holt, and we got first choices. And that was exciting. Sometimes they require a demanding call for all the right reasons. They want to make sure that what they've taken from the pages is what you've taken from the pages, and you're heading in the same direction. Slow Horses did me no harm, certainly, that we'd recently proven ourselves in the genre.
I suppose that's it. It's for an actor, it's like, am I going to be in good, safe hands here, that my acting is going to be taken, well, and it's going to be sort of
yeah, it's certainly. And apparently Rami and Lawrence had met a couple of times. They both overlap in their interests in New York theatre, London theatre scene. So they talked about trying to find something they could do together. And I really enjoy the scenes where those two people sit in a car or at a bar.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about rehearsal. I mean, this is obviously quite a thrillery action film. What's your process with talking through characters with the actors and initial conversations, I guess we're covering again?
Yeah, but I will spend a lot of time in a room with the script at a tabletop with Rami, for example, first of all, going right through his arc, really turning the pages. What is his temperature? Where's his emotion? Where's his threat in every scene? So we have a real map of the whole journey that gives us a shorthand on set. And gradually, where I can, and it isn't always possible with actors flying in for short periods, we'll then bring in people with him to join him for those scenes. And we did that even, for instance, with Michael Stuhlbarg for the final scene. That we were in Marseille by then when Michael joined us, but we then spent a Saturday on those scenes. First with Michael, because we needed to bring him into our tone, and he had a lot of questions about his backstory. In fact, he sent me an email with 93 questions about his character, because that's the way he works, right down to what's my nationality? Did I have siblings? Have I killed people? How many people? What military was I part of? Do I have money? How much money? Where do I consider home?
I mean, that's what you actually want from an actor is someone that like wants to know so much, and then you get thinking about it as well as a director, and it's like this sort of back and forward where you delve into the minutiae of the characters.
And you want that done beforehand, because those are questions you don't want to have to answer on set. You want that to have been part of the process for them to have absorbed, put to one side, and then just becomes behind the frontage of their performance.
Because that's one thing that this has is all of the parts. Some of them, I mean, Rami's throughout the most of the film, but a lot of the characters come in and they do a very short, intensive period.
Yes.
Like Katrina's character is like a very big arc that happens in a very intense sort of period of time. I mean, how do you sort of hit the ground running with those kind of moments that have to hit the audience, but then also give you enough time to get into their character.
Well, a lot of that's in the script, obviously. But you're right, because it was a road trip for the production. We were constantly moving through characters, killing characters, finding new characters. You have to protect performance time for them. And it's very easy in production for all your attention to go to the logistically challenging sequences. The big air-to-boat or boat-to-boat sequences, for example, the car chases, because they take production time. You have to ring-fence space for the performance moments.
Yeah, and I suppose you don't have much time to actually do rehearsal on, before shooting, except for the sort of stunt side on this level of production.
You really don't. And we did have to move fast. It is a very ambitious film for our budget and schedule. It may look huge. It wasn't as huge as it looked. And you've got the first AD, whose job, of course, is to enable the film, but also to watch the clock.
Yeah.
And any time that you're going, can we just run that one more time? They're sighing loudly in the corner because you're not shooting.
Yeah.
And until you're shooting, you're not achieving.
So let's sort of talk a little bit about tone and the visual look of the film and how you decided to set that part apart, to make it give its own sort of unique feel to this.
Yeah. Well, let's talk tone first of all, because I think the tone is everything. And I mean tone way beyond the look.
Yeah.
We wanted it rooted. We wanted it to feel genuine. And this took place in a contemporary and actual 2025. Then you want to give it that little Hollywood lift. So we talk constantly about rootedness and that everything felt plausible. The tech is all real. It's all real or very nearly real. In fact, some of the things we were told by our experts would curl your toes to hear what was actually achievable.
It's sort of sobering, isn't it? When you hear about what's like technologically doable now, it's kind of quite scary.
Really,
as a sort of
really, without a doubt. Yeah, and you don't want to go there. The key thing for me was to have the humor and the emotion alongside the jeopardy. That when you created these fantastic car chases or a foot chase, you cared about who was running and who was being pursued, which isn't always the case for me in action movies. Sometimes it's okay, it's a great piece of visual drama, but are you emotionally invested? In terms of the look, I really did want to harness a little bit of our ancestors, of our precedents, of Condor, of Parallax View, of All the President's Men. To some extent, we're aware as well of 90s movies like Enemy of the State.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
Which stands up incredibly well. Tony Scott had a way of doing pace and he had a way of doing tech that still feels remarkably fresh.
And also sort of camera movements and lens choices that don't sort of draw you out of the story, but engage you into the stunts.
Which we tried to do. So we kept, and the camera in the early part of the film is quite steady and respectful of the formality and the relative calm of Langley. And then when you start getting on mission training and then mission with Hella, it goes handheld. It becomes more kinetic, and it's very much throughout on his shoulder. Whether you're walking in with the documents that he uses to blackmail his bosses, you're following those documents, you're walking through the office with him. When you're running down the street, you're with him. You're never with the pursuer.
No, because it is very much his journey, and it does sort of feel like that, because other people sort of come in and they disappear or get killed off, as we said earlier. But it is very much his kind of story. So what was the hardest bit about the stunts in this? Because it's obviously pretty ambitious.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the thinking into the pool sequence was huge. The planning for that was considerable, and there was a lot to get wrong very expensively if it went wrong.
I'm glad you did that. I was thinking, they're not going to do this. They're not.
What?
They're not going to blow it up. I mean, because as an audience member, obviously you don't want to kill someone, but you also, I was just like, this would be so exciting to see that pool fully.
And to just mention again that it is inspired by something from the original novel, in which there is a giant aquarium in a restaurant in Prague with people swimming inside it that cracks and is part of the hero's escape. So we've harnessed something from there. Along the way, a little film called Mission Impossible might have done a version of that, but it's true to the amateur, and we've tried to take it back and reinvent it and re-own it. Planning that, shooting on location, using VFX, but also building a chunk of it in the studio was a considerable undertaking. The most expensive shot in the film. So,
was there anything from a sort of character point that you you really needed to put some thought into, or maybe changed from how it was in the script once you sort of really got into those conversations?
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, obviously, it's very difficult to set up Sarah adequately. Rachel Brosnan's character has very little screen time, certainly at the outset.
Yeah.
And yet that's key to giving Hella his cause, to feel his loss, to understand the emotion that drives him. So the way we talked about having her come back in those flashbacks, in those ghosting moments, and how delicately we handled those. And we really had to play with that in the script, play with that in the production to make sure we were in the right sort of world. I promised Rachel there would be no golden light. There would be no sort of ring of remembrance around.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, flashbacks, especially when you've got to like cover some, well, not flashbacks, but when you've got to cover someone that is so important. And then I suppose that mechanic of showing her after she'd died,
yeah.
That was like really important for it not being, the flashback mechanic.
And what we did was these little moments, for example, in the Parisian hotel room, which there's a scene I cooked up where there's a familiar ritual where she turns back the bed and puts the water glasses and the lights on. And I like that because it felt like an idea you could portray without dialogue. It felt like something a couple might do. And then, of course, she's not there. So then you feel the immediate pathos.
Yeah. And it also, it's refreshing to not have like the hands through the hair and the staring through the glossy glass sort of moments, because it doesn't actually, there's nothing personal about that. It's a sort of, a generic.
And there's nothing day to day about it.
Yeah. No, I thought that was one of the most interesting mechanics, actually, was the way that was handled when you put the thought into those bits.
Yeah.
Can you briefly talk about the film you were shooting or TV show you were shooting in LA, just to finish off?
I can tell you it's called Lanterns. It's written by Chris Mundy, who wrote Ozarks and The Last of the True Detectives, and is no slouch at all.
Wow.
It is co-produced between Warner's, HBO Max and DC. It is a take on Green Lantern out of the DC universe, starring Kyle Chandler, Aaron Pierre, and Kelly MacDonald. And I've directed the first 2 episodes. It's a really, again, rooted buddy cop kind of approach to the Green Lantern myth that obviously then dips its toe into the supernatural.
Sounds amazing. Just to wrap up, so basically coming to the end, anything you learnt particularly from shooting The Amateur, like maybe one lesson that you've taken forward?
I'm looking into the faces of the actors. I'm not sure there's one lesson. I mean, filmmaking is frigging hard work. It's also enormously thrilling and fun. You just got to put in the prep all the way. And we did, and it delivered. I'd do even more next time.
Great advice. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Nice to have you again.
Yeah, nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
Hey, that was James Hawes and Dom, as you heard, talking The Amateur in cinemas now. Ah, excellent. What a guy. What a guy.
Yeah, I know.
What?
Well, when I thought like, okay, well, it's only 20 minutes this time, because I mean last time I did an hour with him, but I think I was like somehow in sort of
He'd done with you by then.
I was like real peak like awards season interview. I was doing hundreds of interviews. I came in and I was in the zone. But this time I forgot how like I hadn't forgot, but like James is exceptionally well prepared.
Read.
And like mentally sharp. Like he's so sharp. I mean, like if you were like one of 1,000 questions on set bombarding him, I don't have any sort of doubt that he would be able to sort of answer them, because whatever question I fielded, he was so immediate to knowing the full scope of the answer. So although it's a 20-minute interview, there's actually like a lot in there. We sort of jumped across quite a few different things. It's very condensed. So
Yes.
It was a good chat.
Yeah, it's always worrying, isn't it, when you get 20 minutes or less, that it's just they're going to spiel out the usual stuff, the PR, press junket list that they're doing for all the magazines, the thing that the magazines want to hear.
Yeah.
But we don't, as you know, lovely listener, that we want the inside scoop, how you actually make the movies, how you make the TV shows, what goes through the minds, how we do it, how difficult it is, and how all those bits and pieces, obviously. So yes, it's nice when that happens. And that interview was just that. And likewise, the same thing happened with the second interview, lovely listener, which you're going to hear now, which is with the amazing Catriona Balfe and Dom, sitting down with them. She has garnered widespread acclaim for her role as Claire Fraser in the long-running series Outlander, which earned her multiple awards, right? Including Golden Globes and BAFTAs. Yep. And her film credits include Belfast, Ford vs. Ferrari, Money Monster, Escape Plan. She's just played...
Belfast.
Go on.
Belfast.
Belfast.
Katrina Belfast. There we go.
Yeah, I bet that was the headliner of so many interviews she did.
Yeah.
And I think we should do the same. Why not jump on that bandwagon, even though it's ages ago? We're not promoting Belfast, which is a great movie. And she's amazing in it. That's kind of the first time I really noticed her. I love Ford versus Ferrari. It's a great movie, but the first time I really noticed her was in Belfast. Oh, I think I went to the premiere screening of it with Tony Cook, and they all came out. Kenneth Branagh did an amazing talk afterwards. He was just really, really...
Good old Kenneth.
It was like, wow. Yeah. Oh, good old Kenneth. And then we met him afterwards, went and said hello. I mean, literally, he was going around shaking hands. It wasn't like, oh, hey, Giles, hey, Tony. It was very much like, hello, yep, lovely, all right, cool. Which is always nice.
It is nice. It is nice. You know, I was saying that the other day. When you have a nice, informal feeling, you know, sort of industry event, and the actors and the director and some of the other people sort of mull around, it's very nice. I did a sort of TV preview one the other day. And it was quiet. It wasn't over subscribed. There was just, you know, little bits of, not tons and tons of food, but like enough canapes to go around and some free cocktails and just a nice environment. And the actors kind of stuck around and everyone sort of had a nice chat. And it didn't feel like a PR experience. It felt like, all right, you've enjoyed the movie. Let's have a sort of a friendly chat. And I think that goes a long way. Yeah,
and it does, which is why I think it's important that when you're running your cinema run or doing your premiere as an indie filmmaker, that you have somewhere where everyone can meet.
Always invite me and Giles.
Yeah, basically that. Yeah. But also somewhere where you can have a chat afterwards.
Yeah.
A lot of these places close the bar and they're like, oh, well, so it's kind of planning it.
Yeah.
So that there is somewhere that people can chat afterwards. Yeah, like our recent one with Food for Thought, we had the bar, we made sure that the bar area was open for a bit longer afterwards, that people could sit and chat and have photos on the press board.
Yep.
So people want to do it. They're scared to do it at the beginning, but at the end, get them up there. The more you get, the more publicity you get.
Ply them with booze and they're willing to dive straight in.
Or in Dom's case, food, and he'll do whatever.
It's true. It's true. There was no warning to me to not touch the canapes at that. At that
even
event.
if they'd said you can't, you'd have been already in there. You'd be like,
no one would dare.
Dom's already got his fingers on.
Probably like the least likely thing that anyone's ever going to be able to convince me to not do is to eat the delicious food. But it's nice. I mean, you know, just on the gatekeeping side, because you know most of the industry that haven't like got to the absolute top are gate kept in some way, and to have the experience of just, you know, rubbing shoulders, having a nice friendly chat, that means a lot more to people than I think you realize. And I'm talking about even in like BAFTA events and people that are like fairly firmly established in the industry. Like we all just want to be part of the thing that we love watching and the people that we love watching do it.
Which is why at the screening of the Boys in the Boat, when we met George Clooney, and how wonderfully personable he was. And me and you talk about that all the time, and therefore it's free promotion for him and his film. I'm not saying, you know, it's oh my God, that's going to change his world.
George is still riding off our coat.
Yeah, he's still unbelievably still making money from nice things we said about him. No, but it does mean a lot. And rather than going, they were stuck up, they went in their own room and didn't talk to us. They're just going, no, hey, and they've got conversation and chat. So anyway, that's just a little tidbit for filmmakers out there to try and do that. Make sure that the bar is open, or at least you've got a space you can go to take photos afterwards and meet the actors and meet the people behind it.
Try and get your actors to stay for at least half an hour. It's not going to kill them, and it makes the events a lot nicer for everyone.
Really does. So anyway, speaking of great actors, let's get to your chat with Catriona Balfe, the exceptional actress of the film The Amateur. And then the other side of that, we'll do film topic of the week and then film term. Exciting times.
Hi, Katrina.
Hello.
Welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast. So we sort of talk filmmaking and all that sort of fun stuff. So let's just talk about how you got involved in this and how you ended up attached to The Amateur, because it's an amazing role and it's a really exciting film.
Yeah, so came through my agent and he, you know, I've known Rami sort of socially, I guess, for a couple of years, you know, when the show that he used to be on, Mr. Robot, and the show that I used to be on sort of started around the same time. So we always kind of were in these circles, and I've always been such a huge fan of his. And so when the script was sent to me, I obviously was very excited about that. And the fact that James Hawes was directing, because I'm a big Slow Horses fan.
Yes.
And then, you know, you see the list of people Lawrence was attached that I knew of at the time. And there's some other names floating around. I was like, oh, this sounds fun. And then they were like, and it's Marseille and Istanbul. And I was like, you got me.
It's got so many things, isn't it? It's like great cast, great director, international shooting.
Great locations.
Yeah.
But it was just such a fun script. You know, I think, you know, there's so many of these sort of thrillers that you read, and it is very much usually about the brawn, and, you know, it's like fighting and all of this. And this was just a very smart, kind of unique take on it, I thought. And this character, Inqualine, was somebody that, you know, it's not like something I've played before either, which was kind of fun too. You're always looking to sort of do something different. And so, yeah, just sort of all of it sounded like a really fun time. So I was like, sign me up.
I mean, as soon as I sort of saw your character, I thought this has got so much for someone to like get stuck into.
Yeah.
She's got loss, she's got loneliness, she's got this incredible sort of set of stakes in the world that she lives in.
Yeah.
And then obviously you're doing action stuff as well. So, I mean, what's the sort of process for you once you've done that first read through of the script in terms of like preparing for the character? Are you like working accent first? How are you sort of getting into the mindset of her?
I think it's sort of it all, you know, because we'd read and we were supposed to film in the summer of 24, I guess, summer of 23, I guess, right before the strikes.
Right, yeah.
And they had actually started filming, and then they had to sort of down tools. So my stuff came in the following January. So I actually had a long time to think about it after a while.
Beneficial for them.
Yes, unintentionally a long time to think about it. But I think it's various different things. You know, the whole thing that you sort of mentioned first, like the fact that we meet her and it's somebody who's living in this loss and living in this place that seems so solitary. You know, I thought that was a really interesting thing to start working on, and sort of like, how does somebody exist in that space? And then with the accent, I was sort of looking at different people, and one of the people I came across was Nadia Tolokonnikova, because I thought, okay, here's somebody who has a similar sort of search for justice. And I think that's sort of Inqualine's driving force, is this real need for justice. And even though she's not working within any kind of structured framework, like she doesn't belong to any intelligence agency or anything like that, but here's somebody as a lone wolf who is very much like, I can make a difference. And I thought that was a really interesting, it's just a really interesting character trait. I think especially for a woman, you don't usually get female characters kind of like that. So the accent, I sort of tried to base quite a lot on Nadia, and I listened to a lot of her podcasts, or she had an amazing TED talk and sort of that. And so, yeah, it was a little bit of all of it.
And what about sort of finding the physicality? Because she's obviously like a very fast-paced person. She used to she's used to rushing around and driving cars fast. I mean, is that sort of a mindset thing? Like, was there sort of an extra layer of like research into that espionage world beyond the script, or was there enough sort of in the subtext and the script and the conversations to kind of get you into that?
Yeah,
that
I mean,
role?
I spoke to James, and obviously, you know, you can trust him so implicitly because I've seen his work, and like I've seen kind of set pieces that he's done like that before. And so you know that he knows exactly what he wants. I mean, I probably didn't realize how much running we were going to be doing and like how much uphill, but that stuff's fun. You know, I think, you know, I try and stay relatively fit. But it's always really fun when you get to do that.
I was helping a friend with an audition the other day, and it was only like a sort of 10-meter stretch of running, but after you've done it like 20 or 30 times, they're like completely out of breath. And then you think, well, hang on, if you're doing this on such a big scale in a film, it's a real like physical workout.
Yeah, but first of all, why does anyone ask somebody to do that in an audition? It is impossible. It's like, it's quite funny. But you know, it's stuff like that. it's a lot of pressure because also there's a lot of moving pieces. You have all of the other things going on around you. You know, it has to be quite planned out with the camera work and everything. So, you know, you have to get it right. But I don't know, I think your adrenaline just kicks in and you sort of end up thriving on that. And I don't know, that stuff's always quite fun. The driving, I think the first take we did, James came over and he was like, yeah, maybe maybe don't look so scared. I was like, oh, okay, right, yeah.
Determined, yeah. So what was the sort of conversations with James on set, like actor, director? I mean, did you have many like conversations in advance? Was it just sort of discussing how you both saw the character? Or did you have time to sort of really like deep dive on set? 'Cause usually it's quite mechanical on this sort of size movie. Once you're actually shooting, like, as you said, it's like stunts and marks to hit and those kind of things.
Yeah, no, well, we had an initial Zoom conversation where we sort of talked about his general feelings about Inqualine and what he was looking for. And I'd sort of had the script maybe a week or two at that point, and I brought him my initial thoughts as well. And then we had an email exchange back and forth because they were starting to shoot, and then everything went down. So everything went quiet
held
for a
in
while.
limbo, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then once they were back up, you know, I think the amazing thing with James is that he can shoot at such an incredible pace, and they had so much to do, and it was such a fast moving production as well, moving from, you know, they were in London and then they were in Paris and then they were down in Marseille. So really it was like I got on set and, you know, it was kind of amazing, but you're like, right, well, we've talked about what we've talked about now, just let's get into it and let's do it. And I like that, you know, and he's very specific about what he needs, and he knows very specifically what he's going to show in the edit and things like that. So, you know, he's great. He's very efficient, which is always good.
Are there any sort of moments, maybe like little bits of direction or notes or thoughts that sort of struck in your mind from the shoot? I know it's sort of going back into like extreme specifics.
No, I mean, we had the great thing about this, there was stuff that was very technical because obviously a lot of the sort of sitting at the computer and all of that. But then we had these, you know, couple of really beautiful character moments and emotional moments. So the scene where Charlie and Inqualine have that great conversation, which I think is sort of where Inqualine sort of steers Charlie's morals or questions his morals slightly, where they're outside the guinea fowl pen. You know, that was such a beautiful kind of emotional moment for both of these characters, where she's really questioning, like, is this thing that you're doing, is it bringing you any relief? Because I know you're looking for justice, but what it feels like is that you're going for revenge. And I think that that's such a nice turning point for him. So James was amazing in those moments, like just very gently sort of letting Rami and I find the sort of emotional tempo of it. And, you know, and I think it's a great director is always just guiding you slightly, and it's not kind of like, do this, do that, but it's sort of, oh, that moment was lovely. Like, can we sort of bring that out a little bit more? And then sort of the funny stuff was just with the technical where Rami and I were at the computer and he was like, yeah, maybe look like you look down at the keyboard a few times. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Keyboards, yeah.
Always, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got to wrap up. Just last like parting thing. Do you have any tips for maybe going back in time to your younger self, trying to make a break in the industry, maybe as an actor?
Oh God.
Like 30-second.
I think enjoy the process more. Sometimes it feels really scary when you're in the downtime and work seems scarce, and especially when you've bills to pay. But I think for any young actor, use that time to read as much as you can, watch as much as you can, and experience as much life as you can.
Thank you very much. That's perfect.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, another one, another classic Dom. By the way, this is going to be on YouTube. This was filmed.
Yeah.
And our last couple have done incredibly well, especially the episodes with Stephen Graham and Erin Doherty and the team behind Adolescence.
Yeah. 170k on that one.
It's unbelievable. So go on to our YouTube.
Just do a quick...
Go on, have a look, see how high we are now, numbers-wise. And it just means a lot to us. So if you would be so kind, and if you haven't yet, please go subscribe and just, like all the videos, etc. And then if you're feeling really nice, by the way, go on to iTunes or your podcast device of choice and just click the 5-star button. Why not? Why wouldn't you?
Okay, 187k. 187K.
Wow. Yeah, that's great.
No pressure. No pressure for this one.
No pressure for this one, but guys, please just keep watching and help Dom. Make him feel nice. 3 views on this one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about our film term of the week, which was based on Dom's chat with James Hawes. It was really interesting, his take on tone and not being pigeonholed at the same time. So it's kind of jumping over 2 topics, but what's your take on it all, Dom? What do you feel about, should we go with tone first? Because I think tone is really important in filmmaking. And what is your tone and what's your vision?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important. I think most storytellers tend to have like a couple of topics or areas of interest that they kind of gravitate towards. But other than that, everything can be quite expansive. And in James's case, he's kind of done inspirational wartime biopics, and then he's done Slow Horses, which is probably the most unconventional. I mean, just setting the tone on that one. I mean, it's such a unique show, and you've got a character that is so original. I mean, looking at Gary Oldman, like his character is truly unique, and just the way that show is set up is, I don't feel like it's something we've seen before, and I think it's something that you wouldn't necessarily have seen in the last sort of 30 years. Something that kind of interesting and obscure, and then to take something like that and then move into a sort of more international globe-trotting serious espionage thriller, which has little bits of comedy but really is completely different. And then taking the sort of, I suppose, you could look at the common micro theme of someone that is sort of not necessarily the most competent, who is kind of your hero. Maybe that's the kind of slight thread that's the same. But other than that, everything else is so different in The Amateur to that, even though they cover the same kind of world of espionage.
Yeah, I think you're right. Tone's so important. It's kind of crucial as a filmmaker, as a director or a producer, to be on the same page, to make sure you're on the same page with your team, your cinematographer especially, and that team as well, the cinematographer's team, the gaffer and the group department. And I know some people kind of shy away from showing their mood boards or their decks to crew and cast. I don't. I think it's really important that people know, hey, look, this is the aim we're trying to get with this film. This is the look. This is what we want to try and do. But I met quite a few who say, no, I don't want, this is mine. But I'm like, yeah, but that'll help inform them when they are thinking about this and how we're moving the camera and why. And they can chime in. It's great. I like it.
I mean, I sort of get it on like actors, where it's like, okay, not all actors will want to read your 46-page backstory for their character because they might want to do their own version. But the other side, as you said, how it's going to look, what the sort of color is, because the difference between comedy and drama, it's such a long spectrum, and the music, and whether it's sort of UK feeling or whether it's more USA leaning. There's so many variants, like so many millions of variants that don't necessarily inform at the sort of the ground level, but they will inform so many decisions that every person in the cast and crew makes.
Yeah, it really does. It also, I think it really helps to explain your attitude of the film. Yeah. The subject matter, what do you want the audience to take away from this film? Mood, atmosphere, all those, and that you're usually taking images from other people's films, or it might be from paintings or from I don't know, some image you found somewhere, but that's often color, and it's so complex making films, and the more you can show people your colors, your tones, the more it gets in their heads to go, oh, I see what you're doing here. I see why, this scene's moody, because you don't want to show too much of life. The character's feeling down at this point, so everything is a little grayer. And then this point, everyone's wearing different colors, or have your characters each got their own color palette. It's really important. It enhances everything. But it also, when the audience are watching the film, they might not notice, but it just shapes their thought process. If someone's wearing red throughout the whole movie, why? It's like, oh, because it it's red danger, or it means something. Maybe it's just red lipstick or red shoes, or one character's always in green. Is that envious? Is that this? And it does make a difference. But you might not, like say, as an audience
you
member,
might not notice it, at all.
Yeah. But it adds deeper meaning.
It does, yeah. And sometimes, sometimes actors like, anyone in the crew, but actors especially, they like obscure kind of visual references and things that aren't just, you telling them what you think the character should be. Different things that can just they can soak up in their sort of acting photosynthesis.
Which is massively important, I think.
Yeah.
So yes, tone and...
What, photosynthesis?
Photosynthesis is massively important. Do you remember doing that in school, in science?
What, photosynthesizing?
Yeah, I did a lot of that. I think sympathizing, I did a lot of that. The other side of the James Hawes topic we wanted to touch on as well is being pigeonholed as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And how your tone, I think, to mix the two can really help that. So if you're pitching for a project that's a comedy, you don't want to be showing all the images that you often might do for your drama, or, I say images because this is still your tone and it's your voice and you can't help it. But so that's really important. But being pigeonholed, I think a lot of people talk about being pigeonholed and being frightened by it.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, I think there's certain genres where if you do something so well, people just assume that you're going to do that forever. I mean, it often happens in horror. That's probably the most obvious sort of example, is that you do a couple of good horrors and then people are just like, well, he's a horror director now.
Yeah, and the same with romantic comedies.
Yes.
Like, she's a romantic comedy director now. And it's a bit like, well, no. And you look at the Farrelly brothers or the Coen brothers, they were very much like dark comedy, and definitely that's the tone that would have said originally for them. And they've branched out into all sorts of different genres, and people always want to. Yeah. But I don't know, people always said that to me, aren't you worried about not being pigeonholed when I'm trying to get another horror off the ground after The Dare, and then made Arthur and Merlin, which is obviously Swords and Sandals, and then a war film and thriller, and then suddenly people get...
they're sort of thriller genre, but that's kind of like, okay, I'm a genre director vibes, but it's not necessarily like, at least you're not getting at the risk of being pigeonholed within a single genre.
No, but what I have found is that it's harder for me to get comedies off the ground. I can't. So when I've been pitching for comedies, they've been like, "Oh yeah, we love you, but you haven't done a comedy." And I'm like, "Okay, there's a lot of comedy in my work. I'm hilarious, obviously." And then the other way around, you sort of, when I'm trying to get something of mine off the ground that is comedy, I start having to go, "Yeah, but the first things I ever made, the shorts I made, were comedies." But it's just too late.
Yeah, but I feel like that's almost. I feel like in this day and age, it's almost like a sort of reflection of the idea that this kind of over nannying, I want to basically see everything about the movie that you're going to make the movie in before you've made the movie. And it's like, well, I haven't made the movie yet, so how can I give you that level of confidence that I've done this very specific thing before? And it's kind of, there's a sort of impossibility and lack of trust into broaching in new areas that is, very frustrating. So I guess, the risk of pigeonholing now seems worse than ever. But I guess sort of the flip side to that is that the commissioners are sort of reluctant to do anything. So you're probably going to have an uphill battle, whatever you're trying to get made that's new.
So I've been talking to one of my reps over in the States, and they were saying the industry is now back. Everything's moving again, which was great to hear.
Is it?
Yeah, they were saying they
not what I've heard. Okay.
Yeah, they felt they were saying lots of things are moving again. Things are happening. I thought there'd be a massive influx after April, the 1st and the deadline, with April the 5th, with the tax in the UK. I thought suddenly there's going to be loads of films. And I haven't seen that, but the fact there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of people talking about filmmaking. There's a lot of meetings happening. Yeah. There's a lot of casting going on. And it is about cast now. Yeah. It feels that way.
Yeah, it is. It is about cast. I mean, we did a sort of article on Nerdly recently, which touched about that. And some of those conversations I've had is like, well, cast doesn't mean, what it used to mean.
It's true.
So
it's true.
If you can't get the cast anyway, because like they're only on big shows or,
big films.
Really big films. So to even get the cast is fairly impossible. And then when you do get them,
they might not be right.
The value that they have with investors or sales agents is basically not what you think it is, to the degree where it's like, okay, well that doesn't get the movie greenlit. It's like, well, how are you supposed to get the movie greenlit then, or the TV.
It's madness. It really is at the moment, because let's say you cast some wonderful young actress who's just massively up and coming and just done a huge Netflix show, but you're going to independent financiers at Sky or Big Talk or I don't know, A24 for instance, or Blumhouse. That means nothing to them. It's like, oh, that's great, but they don't sell here. So you've got to be really careful with casting as well nowadays, unless you're getting names. The sort of middling names, if you like, their names in their certain genre don't really mean much unless it's that same streamer or that same filmmaking company. It's quite interesting. It's really tough for filmmakers at the moment. But when I hear that from one of my reps saying things are moving, I like that though. That's better than everyone going it's dead, especially with Cannes coming up, Cannes Film Festival and the market and the marché de film. Yeah. You going, by the way?
Probably. I mean, you never know, but yeah, probably.
You never know. I know. I love that with you. You're like, yeah. I mean, yes, you should, and maybe you will. I've already booked my flight and I've already done that's the thing to do though. Even if you're not going, it's like 20 quid or something.
Yeah, I know. The flights do.
The flights go up. So my
pretty
flights, I think I got they were around 120, something like that. But it was the important thing to get done is to get your badge. To go pay for your badge now, which even if you're not going
to I mean, that's definitely like your requirement.
Yeah, it's a requirement. Even if you don't go, because if you suddenly last minute decide to go, it's too late. They won't let you, and
it is.
And for 25 quid or whatever it is now, it's totally worth getting that.
Back in my day, it used to be free.
Did it? Was it free when you first used to go?
Yeah, it used to be free, yeah.
No way.
It's only like the last 3 years or something it's been charged.
No, because I've been going for 5.
Yeah. I remember when they used to give you a lovely bag as well.
Yeah, you used to get swag. I remember the first year I went, I got that bag. Everyone had that bag and walking around with the bag, which was great. It looked cool. No one minded, except if you put it down somewhere, there was about 100 other bags right next to it, so you had no idea if that was yours, and you're rifling through trying to check. But anyway, yes, I'll be there at Cannes this year, so if you're going, let us know. Come say hello. If nothing else, we haven't planned a panel or a podcast live there yet, but we will do at some point.
One day
when we're not having meetings and doing that. As much as we love doing this for you guys, at the same time we also need to get films made, which is what I'm doing right now as well. I'm coming up now, I've got a day off today. It's my final week on sessions in the next 5-6 days, so wish me luck.
Lucky man.
Yes. No, I'm over the moon. It's been incredible. My crew are amazing. Yeah, I'm really, really lucky with the performances I'm getting, the shots we're getting. Andy Rogers smashing
lovely.
cinematography. So yeah, lots to digest, lots to tell you about, but at the moment I'm in the midst of it.
Speaking of digest,
go on.
On the Directors UK weekly digest, James Hawes is also featured, where he spoke in the House of Commons Culture, Media and Sports Committee, I believe.
Sounds big.
About IP and directors and safeguarding copyright, which is very interesting. I mean, just as a sidebar, I can't mention any names, but a script a friend wrote quite a long time ago, and one of the very specific topics in said thing has now appeared in one very, very, very major streamer show that's a sci-fi, as well as another very high-profile film in the last 2 or 3 years. And it's so specific that it's almost baffling that it couldn't be off the back of thing. And he's not read either of the IPs, the writer. So the idea, okay, don't share your scripts with people. There is a sort of intrinsic, you're being paranoid, but I have a feeling this one, there could be some grounds there, and it is quite worrying when, because all it takes is a producer to pitch to another producer to pitch to another producer, and then in a meeting, someone, maybe they've even forgotten about it, they throw the idea into the writer's room, and then suddenly it's canon, and then their thing is getting produced before your thing, which you spent all this time developing.
Wow.
So, yeah. Not good.
Not good at all. Not good at all. Wow. Yeah, I'll have to read that. If you could send the link to Toby, I'm sure he'll put it in the show notes for everyone and they can read.
I'm sure he will.
Amazingness from Toby there. Thank you. Cool. Well, that was our topic of the week.
Cool.
That was two. It was 2 actually. So yeah, there you go. What a treat for you, listener. Yeah. So now it's time for Film Term of the Week, where Dom attempts to sing the theme tune first of all, and action.
I don't want to sing today. I've got.
Do it in a rap.
No, that's even worse. That's like no.
Okay, well that just killed the mood.
Yeah.
Let's do a low hum. Give me a low hum, and I'll
Okay.
or a beat.
Film term of the week.
Oh, you did it! Yay! Okay, film term of the week this week. Film term of the week is our section of the show where we give you, lovely listener, a film term from film set that you will learn when you're on a film set, or that you should learn before you go, so you're aware of what it is. Dom is usually really good at answering these. So this week's is catch light.
Catch light.
Yes, the film term of the week is catch light. It is to do with, to help you a little bit, what is seen on the screen and how you'd improve that image in someone's face, but more so than that. It's very
Someone's
specific.
face?
Well, specific.
Oh, is catch light the one where you like for the pupils?
Correct.
Oh, where you like?
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Nailed it.
Yeah, you nailed it. It's a light source. It results like in a spectacular reflection in the eyes of whoever is on screen.
Dreamy, emotional eyes.
Yes. And so often you might want to ping a certain light in. So when you see someone's eyes on screen and they kind of might have white circles in them or a white square, that's called a catch light. This was
or entirely black.
Yes. Or entirely black. This is known as an OBIE, O-B-I-E, OBIE. And this was after Hollywood actress Merle Oberon. And this technique, catch light, was first invented and referenced by Oberon's husband, Lucien Ballard. And it is said that Ballard wanted to draw attention to a special glimmer in Merle's eyes to distract the viewers from scars she'd suffered in a long ago accident.
Wow.
There you go. Thank you, Studio Binder, for those facts. There you go. That's our film term of the week. And that is the end of this week's episode. And it was at The Amateur special with director James Hawes and Katrina Balfe. And that is available in cinemas now. Do go watch. Very exciting. Well, wish me luck for my final week on sessions, directing that feature film. Thank you. And good luck to you with...
On the continued run of Time Travel is Dangerous that is selling out screenings across the UK and 4-star Guardian reviews, etc.
Amazing. If you haven't been to see this in the cinema,
go and find a cinema near you now.
Go watch it. We will be doing a very special podcast coming up with the Shakespeare sisters and hopefully Chris Redding, the director, as well as me and Dom. That should be a fun chat coming up for you. What else have we got? What have we got next week, Dom? Who's next Tuesday for our lovely listeners?
I honestly don't know.
Have we got Gareth Edwards? Have we got...
Oh, yes, I think it is, yeah.
Have we got Murder Ballads? Might it be Time Travel is Dangerous? No.
I think it's Gareth Edwards.
I think it might be...
Based on our contractual obligations.
With Gareth Edwards, for those who don't know, is the director of Rogue One. And also, very recently...
At the moment, he's causing havoc.
Havoc. Well, let's see. That might not happen, right? Because you haven't recorded it yet. So we could just totally be lying.
Yeah. Could be. We'll find out next week.
We will. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. Why not this week have a moment to write why you want to be a filmmaker? If you're struggling, if you're in that place where nothing's happening for you, just spend a moment, write down why you want to be a filmmaker, and just write down the list of what this means to you and why you want to do this and what would happen if you did this and how you need to get there. And then just tick those off during the week. Just try and get it off your chest, because you can get wrapped up in it sometimes and it can feel all consuming. So sometimes writing things down really helps. What's your goals? What's your aims? What do you want to achieve?
Yeah.
And that'll be good for mental health, good for the system. Write down the projects you're working on, the ones that are happening, the ones that might not be, the people you want to work with or don't.
Yeah.
Do something about it. And if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, it is your duty to
send the elevator back down.
All the way to being a professional rather than the amateur, which is out there in cinemas.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dom.
Thanks, Charles. Have a nice week.
Thank you, and you. See you all soon, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.